Hello class, welcome to another lesson. Today we're going to be talking about irrational numbers and how to place them on a number line. As you remember, irrational numbers are numbers that continue on and on and on and on and never repeat. And we said that the square root of non-perfect squares, so for example the square root of 19, the square root of 22, the square root of 37, all of these are irrational numbers because they're the square root of non-perfect squares. So we're going to be talking about how to place these on a number line, how to figure out what their value is, and put them on a number line with a degree of accuracy to the 10th place. We're only going to worry about taking it to the degree of the 10th place. So please write down the following learning goal in your notes. I can put an irrational number on a number line with a degree of accuracy to the 10th place. And let's get started. Our first job is to put the square root of 15 on a number line. And you know the answer already, but let's continue. So, what we do know about the square root of 15 is that whatever the value is going to lie in between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16. Because the square root of 15 is in between those two numbers. And the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 9 is 4. And because 15 is only one digit away from 16 and it is 6 digits away from 9, we can safely assume that it's going to be pretty close to over here. So, how do we figure this out using a process? So the algorithm for this is to first say that the answer is going to be 3 something because we know it's going to lie in between 3 and 4. So we would simply write 3. Then we're going to create a fraction next to it. Create a fraction next to it. So, the numerator is going to be found by finding the difference between the lower perfect square and the number, the square root of the number that we're trying to find. So 15 minus 9 is 6. That is going to be the numerator of the fraction that's going to be very close to the actual square root of 15. Then the denominator is going to be coming from the difference of the higher perfect square that's closest to it and the lower perfect square closest to it. So 16 minus 9 is 7. So 3 and 6/7 is a fraction that is really, really close to the square root of 15. But we're going to try to find this into the accuracy of the 10th place, which means we need to find 6/7 as a decimal. So, I'm going to put 6 in here, 0.0000, and 7, no, we probably don't need that many zeros, but put the decimal up. 7 times 8 equals 56, so it goes in 8 times 4, drop down to 0, 7 goes into 45 times, 35, subtract 5, which is good. We can stop there because we're only trying to get to the 10th place, the accuracy towards the 10th place. This 5 indicates that we're going to round the 10th place up, so our answer is going to be, as shown at the very beginning, 3.9. So I'm going to put in my 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and say that this is approximately the square root of 15. Okay. Again, we've discovered where what the integer is going to be by seeing that the square root of 15 is between the square root of 9 and the square root of 16, so therefore we're going to have a 3 inside of it. And then the numerator for the fraction part is the difference between the actual square rooted number and the perfect square below it, and then the bottom denominator comes from the difference between the two perfect squares closest to that number. So, let's try another one. We're going to put the square root of 44 on a number line. So, the square root of 44 lies between the square root of 36 and the square root of 49. So therefore, our answer is going to be 6 something, and lying between 6 and 7. So therefore, our answer is going to be 6 with some fraction. The numerator comes from the difference of 36 and 44, and that difference is 8. And then the denominator comes from the difference of 36 and 49, which is 13. So it's going to be pretty close to there. We can speculate that it's going to be pretty close to in between 6, directly in between 6 and 7, because the difference between 36 and 44 is 8, and the difference between these two is 5. It might be a little bit closer to 7, but pretty close to the middle, and closer to the 7 part. Okay. So let's see what this gives us as a decimal. So we're going to do 8 divided by 13. Bring our decimal up. Excuse me. So 13 goes into 80 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Carry the 1. 1 times 6 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. We get 2. Bring down the next number. We get 0 down there. So we get 20. It goes in 1 time. So our answer is going to be 6.61. But since we're rounding to the 10th place, it's going to be 6.6. And to put that on the number line, again, I'm going to put in my 10th place, so it's 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Why don't you guys go ahead in your notes and try this one on your own. We know that the square root of 85 lies in between the square root of 81 and the square root of 100. Those are the two perfect squares closest to 85. So therefore it's going to lie in between 9 and 10, with our answer having a 9 as the whole number part. Let's find the numerator and the denominator of the fraction part for this. So, the difference between 81 and 85 is 4. The difference between 81 and 100 is 19. So, we go 9 and 4 19, which kind of makes sense because 85 is closer to 81 than it is to 100. So we're supposed to be probably down here. So, let's figure out what 4 divided by 19 is. So 4.000 divided by 19. Got the decimal. 19 times 2, because 19 goes in twice, is 38. Subtract 2, bring down, you get 20. It goes in once, obviously, so it is 9.2. Our answer is going to be close to 9.2 because we are rounding down. So therefore, again, I'm going to put in my 10th place 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, 9.6, 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, and say that it is close to right there, 9.2. Okay, I forgot to mark this one. Be sure to label your dots. Okay. Try this last one out on your own. If you did it correctly, your answer should look somewhat like the following. Okay? The answer is going to be close to 7.7. And where we got that from is 11 is the difference between 60 and 49. And the difference between 64 and 49 is 15. And if I do that division, we get 0.73, which rounds it to 0.7. And the 7 comes from that the answer is going to be in between the square root of 49, which is 7, and the square root of 64, which is 8.